One of the other things that you're going to have to do in algebra with our attributes is actually graphing them by hand. So far we've given you graphs and you've identified the attributes, but now we are going to be graphing by hand our equation. So here's going to be your steps in your process. Your first step is going to be write it in the slope-intercept form. So write the equation slope-intercept form. The first half of this page, or the first 6 problems, are already in slope-intercept form, but the other ones are not, so you're going to have to check on that. The next thing is to graph the y-intercept, which is always written as a point, 0, b. Then you're going to use the slope of the line to create more points so that you can draw your line. Again, you're going to be thinking about using your rise and your run for this. Then it says use a ruler that extends through the points, placing arrows on both ends. So because we're using notability on this, it's going to be super easy. So let's take a look at this very first one. So this is in slope-intercept form. So again, that's the y equals mx plus b. Our slope is our m, and our b is our y-intercept. So let's go ahead and let's identify that y-intercept. So our b is a positive 5. So we're going to go over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to mark that point right there. Okay. Now the next thing that we need is going to be our slope. Now if you look at the slope, it says negative x. So what that means is it's a negative 1, and to make that negative 1 a fraction so that we have our rise over our run, we're going to have to put it all over 1. So here's how we do this. We start with our point. We know this is going to be a negative slope, so it's going to be going in this direction. So let's go ahead and let's take it down 1. So we're going to take it down 1, and then we're going to run 1. Take it down 1, run 1, down 1, run 1. So what we're doing is we're creating these extra pretty points along our line. Now, when you draw your line, I'm only asking for you to do at least 2 pretty points, or let's do at least three pretty points. So there's 2 pretty points right there. And let's do 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. So let's go ahead and let's try to get at least our x and our y-intercept. Then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your notability marker and you're going to draw a line through that. And again, you just make it straight with the notability. And there is your line. So we're going to be graphing by hand given our slope and our y-intercept. Let's do another one. All right, so number 2, our y-intercept is b, which is our negative 1. Our slope is negative 3. Now we've got to make that a fraction so that we can have our rise over our run. So to make that negative 3 a fraction, we're just going to place it over 1, and then we can take it over here to our line. So let's plot that negative 1. Here it is. Now this again is a negative slope, so it needs to be going downwards like that. So we take it down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. And then down 1, 2, 3 over 1. So if you notice how it kind of goes off my page, well, if it's going to go off your page, I don't want you to use it. So I wonder, since I can't go in that direction, I wonder if I could go in the opposite direction, but just instead of going to the right, we would go up 1, let me get a marker. I'll get a different color. We'd go up 1, 2, 3, but instead of going to the right, we'd go to the left. So here would be another pretty point. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. So it doesn't really matter which direction you go in, just as long as you're creating that line and it's going in the same direction both ways. So then we would come over here, and again, we would draw our straight line through all of our points. And there you have it. Let's take a look at the next one. Now this one's going to be a positive slope because our slope is 2/5. So it's positive, and our y-intercept is 2. So let's start at our y-intercept of 2. We're going to rise 1, 2 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now again, you can't go anymore. You can't go up 2 over 5 because it's going to go off the page. So instead of doing that, we're going to go in the opposite direction. So instead of going up, we're going to go down. 1, 2. Instead of going to the right, we're going to go to the left. 2, 3, 4, 5. Sweet, awesome. So now we have our linear function. Here we go. Put your arrows. And if you notice, we have all of those same attributes. So here's our x-intercept. And here's our y-intercept, and we already know what our slope is. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Now, this one, if you notice, it says y equals negative 4x. Well, that guy's right there, that is our slope. It is negative 4. But if you notice, there's nothing over here to the side. So what that means is that your b is 0. So that means we're going to start here at the origin. And to make this negative 4 a fraction, we're going to place it over 1. So we got our rise, and we have our run. So we can go down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Going the opposite direction, we'd go up 1, 2, 3, 4, but you'd have to go in the opposite direction here. So it would be over 1 here. And then we take our line and we draw it, making it super straight. Awesome. Okay, number 8. Now, this one's a little bit backwards. Okay, again, looking for our slope, looking for our y-intercept. So when we find our slope, we're looking for the number that is right next to our x because your slope and your x are married. So this guy right here, there it is. It's a 5. Now, to make that 5 a fraction, we place it over 1. So we have our rise and we have our run. Our y-intercept is going to be this very first term, which is negative 3. So that means we're going to start down here at negative 3, go rise 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. So we're not going to be able to finish out this one because the graph isn't big enough, and that's okay. That's totally fine. However, you can still draw a straight line like so, and let it straighten up a little bit. All right, that's about as good as we're going to get over here. Okay. All right, awesome. Now, let's take a look at number 10. The number 9 is going to be the same way, except this one right here. Don't forget your sign on this one. We've got a negative 6/5 for our slope, and then our y-intercept is 1. So again, that's starting over here at 1. Go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to create this long line right here. Boom. There you go. Okay, number 10. Now, if you notice, number 10 is a little bit different because it is not in slope-intercept form. So we're going to have to convert that to slope-intercept form. So let's do that here. We're going to subtract x from both sides. So we're left with 3y equals, switch them here, negative x minus 3. We divide by 3 on both sides. That becomes a 1. We're left with y equals negative 1/3 x minus 1. So again, we come over here to our negative 1 as our y-intercept. And this is a negative slope, so we're going to go down 1 over 3. 1, 2, 3. Take it down 1 over 3. 1, 2, 3. So just creating these pretty points right here. You can go the opposite direction, go up 1 over 3. 1, 2, 3. Up 1 over 1, 2, 3. So that'll help you kind of create that long line right there. Don't judge it. It's really terrible. You can come over here and take this guy and usually switch them around a little bit. Oh, no. I'm just going to do that. Okay. Anyways, moving on to this guy. All right, here we go. So we're going to subtract x from both sides. So that makes that a 0 pair. Negative y equals negative x minus 5. Now, again, you're wanting to make this a positive y. So if I make it a positive y, I've got to switch everything. So I switch this to a positive, which means I switch the x to a positive and also the negative 5 to a positive. But here's why. There's a negative 1 in front of that y. It's got that ninja 1. So we're going to divide by negative 1 for each one of these terms. So that's going to become a positive 1. That's going to become a positive 1. And this is going to become a positive 5. So in this case, our slope is not x, right? It's the number in front of it, which is 1. Let's take that 1, make it a fraction. 1. Our y-intercept is 5. So we find our y-intercept, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here it is. And now we take it up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. You can also go the other way, down 1 to the left, 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 down 1 to the left. So it's creating this long line right here. There we go. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, getting y by itself, we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. That becomes a 0 pair. We're left with negative y equals negative 5x minus 3. Again, we're switching all of these by dividing by negative 1 for each thing. If you notice, there's kind of a theme going on over here, that having to divide by that negative 1. I wonder if I'm trying to give you a hint about something. So again, we have our y-intercept, which is 3, 1, 2, 3. Here it is. There's that pretty point. And then we take it up 5 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. We can't go up any further, so let's go the opposite. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. So then we can create this line over here. All right, one more like this, and then we'll do it given a slope and a point. All right, we subtract our 4x from both sides. That makes that a 0 pair. We've got 3y equals negative 4x plus 21. We divide by 3 on both sides. That becomes a 1. We're left with y equals negative 4/3 x plus 7. So we take it up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now it's going to be a negative, so let's go down first. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 3, 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. Let's take a look at the second half of our assignment. So in this case, I am not giving you an equation. So this is graphing given a point, could be any random point, and our slope. So you're going to graph it very similar to our equations. However, we're not always going to have our y-intercept. So let's go ahead, let's graph this point. Again, that's our x, comma, y. So we're going to go over here to our graph, and we go over 2, 1, 2, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our point right there. Now, the slope is 1/2, so that's going to be a positive slope. So we're going to be rising 1 and running 2. So from that point that you just plotted, we're going to rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. So we've kind of got the start of that line. I wonder if we can go in the opposite direction. So let's go down 1, over 2. Down 1, over 2. Perfect. So we can keep going with this until we have this line right here. So all we did was we plotted that first point, that 2, 4 right here, and then we used our slope, which was our rise over a run, to create the rest of our line. Let's take a look at this one. This one has a negative 2 for your x, and then a positive 4 for your y. Again, this slope is a negative 1/2. So we've got our rise, we've got our run, and it's going to be going in this direction. So always keep in mind what it's going to look like in the end. We take it over negative 2. We go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our very first pretty point. So again, notice how this negative sign is on the outside. That means it can either be applied to the top or it can be applied to the bottom. It just can't be applied to both. So let's go ahead and let's take it down 1 first. How about that? Let's take it down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. And I chose this direction because there's not really a whole lot of space to go the other direction. So let's keep it simple. Now we've got enough dots to create that line for us. And here we go. Awesome sauce. All right, that's graphing our linear functions given a point and a slope. Let's take a look at this last one together. We've got our x is 1, our y is 2, so we go over 1, up 2. So here's our first pretty point. Now this is a negative slope. That negative can be applied to the top or to the bottom, just not to both. So let's go down 3. 1, 2, 3 over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go the other direction. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Okay, and there you have it. This last one is just kind of like a create your own, more so for the face-to-face classes. Your assignment for this evening is going to be the Delta Math, so just make sure you pay attention to that and you sum